In this episode of 5 Question Friday, we talk about class size, sexy gym, consistent coaches, new box layout, and balancing your personal life. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of 5 Question Friday, my favorite episode of the week, where you guys ask questions, I have a go at answering them, and this week we're doing things a little bit differently. For a long time, you guys have been asking if this could also be put out as a podcast, as well as the video. Some of you guys want to listen to me in the car or whatever, instead of having to see my ugly mug, so that's what we're doing. That's why we've got the extra gear, and also this week I'm answering your Instagram story questions again as well. So let's jump straight into it. First question. From your experience, what is an ideal class size / coach to athlete ratio? Very, very good question. Now, this all comes down to what kind of product you're trying to deliver, okay? Now, whether you do CrossFit or functional fitness, or you're a martial arts school or a yoga studio or a PT studio, or whatever it is that you do, they're not all the same, right? Think about it like coffee, right? We all know that those who like coffee know that coffee isn't coffee, right? It's very different. A McDonald's coffee or a Starbucks coffee is very different than, a really nice barista-made coffee that you pay a little bit more for, you wait a little bit longer for. They're a very different product, and as such, the prices change, the way you do commerce changes. So we have to decide where within the spectrum of whatever it is you do, where do you sit, right? Let's assume you're a gym. Are you going to be at one end, which is, I don't want to say a budget gym, but you have large classes, a small coach to athlete ratio, so maybe you have one coach per 25 members, and what you're giving really, the coaches there mostly, if we're being honest, and we need to be honest with this, but the coaches there really just to direct the class, to motivate the class, to keep the class running. There's not a whole lot of coaching. If we're being honest, if you take 25 members, and let's say you did 60 minutes of coaching, and you're not doing 60 minutes of coaching, when you really break it down, you've got toilet breaks, you've got briefings, you've got the movement, it's not 60 minutes. But anyway, when you break it down, how much coaching is every one of those people in that class actually getting? It's not a whole much. So in that situation, you can't say that coaching is your main product, right? You're giving a place for these people to work out, a community for them to work out in, the programming, the equipment, and you're keeping them relatively safe as much as you can with that many people at once. It's a very different product than if you have a box or a gym where you've got, say, a cap of 10 and you've got 2 coaches per class, right? Now you've got a 1-to-5 ratio. That's a very different product. There is a lot of coaching going on there. You're not there to just facilitate the class. You're there to educate people, right? That's a very, very different product. So firstly, you have to decide what product you want to be. Are you at one end? Are you at the other end? Or are you somewhere along that spectrum, right? Now, my honest opinion, and this is the beauty of affiliation and a free market economy, you can do whatever the fuck you want, right? But my honest opinion is there is enough medium to low rate boxes, right? There's enough gyms out there that are doing, large classes with a low level of service, right? And doing a pretty poor job of it. There's enough of those, right? Don't get into that game, right? If you have the choice, why? Number one, go to the market that is less saturated, which is premium, high quality gyms, right? Because it's less saturated, so you've got a better chance of success there. But also, if you're gonna do anything, why not do it the best way you possibly can do it? Why do the half rate version when the premium version exists, right? Why do an okay deadlift or a snatch or whatever if you could do the perfect one, right? Or at least aspire to do the perfect version, right? So I personally am a big fan. When you say ideal, firstly, it has to work with whatever you want. If you want 1,000 members in a one class setup type gym, then you're probably going to have to do, 20 plus people to a class. Now you can manage how many coaches you have for that class, right? So you could do, 25, or let's say 20 members, 30 members. Let's go 30. That's easy. 30 members per class, which is a big fucking class, but you might have 3 coaches in that class. Now, technically that gives you a 10 to 1 member to coach ratio, right? Which sounds great, but here's the thing. It doesn't work. The ratio doesn't expand, right? It doesn't scale. So if you have 10 members and 1 coach, 10 to 1, that works fine. 20 members, 2 coaches, 10 to 1, that works fine. 30 and 3, it works okay. 50 and 5, 110, it doesn't scale. And the reason it doesn't scale is because we're not robots, right? We don't have a program that makes sure that we talk to each person individually for exactly the right amount of time. We don't do that. we're humans, and humans are attracted to different humans. And so what will happen is in that 50-member class, those 5 coaches will end up talking to the same 25, 30, whatever the number is, people, right? And that's just the way it is. We've all got those gray men and those gray girls in the boxes, right? Those people who come in and they might train 3 times a week, but they just kind of come and go. They don't make a fuss. You wouldn't pick their name out of the top of your head. Well, they're the people that can easily be forgotten once the class gets big, no matter how many coaches you've got. So understand that whilst coach to member ratios are important, they do not scale. You can't use them as a justification for blowing out your classes to 30, 40, 50. Again, this is just my opinion. This is what we see the most successful boxers in the world do, what's worked very well for me over the last 15 years. But I'm interested to know, what do you think? What do you think is the best coach to member ratio? Now, don't tell me what you do, because what you do might not be the best way to do it, right? You understand that, right? We're all a work in progress. So I don't want the comments to turn into we do it this way, all right? That's cool. If the way you do it is the best you could ever do it, cool. But also feel free to be vulnerable and say, oh, okay, we have an 18-to-1 coach ratio right now, but we're trying to work on getting that down to a 10-to-1. Yeah. So very long answer. Here's the short answer. My personal preference is 10-to-1 ratio or less with no more than 2 coaches. So a class no bigger than 20 people, because I'm only interested in the end of the spectrum of business that is premium, that is education-based, that is really, really focusing on the product that we can give that most other places cannot give. Awesome question, but I'm very keen to know what you guys think in the comments below. Next question. Cheap ways to improve the aesthetic of the gym. We have an old box and need ideas. I love this question. I was so happy when I saw it come through. This is one of my passions, is doing up and flipping old boxes and making them look brand new again and adding value. So one of the first things I want to put out there, because I had a chat with a box owner yesterday about this, is when you're trying to bring extra value to the gym, maybe you're going to do a price rise and you make sure that you justify that price rise with extra value, whatever it is, you have to understand, sorry if I'm all tight, guys, I'm still not used to this microphone setup, so I'm going to try and relax into it and make sure you guys can hear me okay. Anyway, a lot of the time box owners go with what we call value, right? So we go and we buy Airdynes and we buy ski ergs and we buy, AstroTurf, and we get a bigger box and we add more classes and all this kind of stuff. You've got to understand that value is determined by the members, right? Your costs don't determine your value, your service does, right? Because we're a service industry. We're not a commodities-based industry. We don't sell things. We sell service, right? So that's the first thing to understand is, if you, let's say you have a bunch of broken gear, right? Or a bunch of just worn down gear from over the years, and you think that replacing that gear is going to increase the value and then people will be happy paying more. That's not how it works. Part of the expectation, part of the base level of service that they expect is that the gear works, right? The fact that it doesn't work means that you're not meeting that expectation. So meeting that expectation by replacing the gear doesn't mean you can increase prices. It just means that you're back to zero, you're back to baseline, right? You're meeting the expectation that you should have been meeting the whole time anyway, right? So that doesn't work. Getting a bigger box, it costs you more money, and so you feel like I need to pass on those costs to my members. But look at it from a member's point of view. As a member, I don't give a fuck if I've got a big box or a small box. If I'm in the 6:30 a.m. class and I'm happy in the 6:30 a.m. class and I get value from the 6:30 a.m. class, what do I care if the box is now bigger or smaller or, add-in class as well. Add-in classes cost you money because you've got to hire coaches. But again, what do I care if there's now a 9:30 p.m. class? I'm not going to pay more just because there's another class. That's not how service works, right? So what do we do to increase value? This is kind of going on a tangent from the original question, but it's an important kind of precursor to this question. I need to look at the member's core experience and ask how I make that better. So number one is obviously improving the quality of our coaching and the consistency of our coaching to make sure that quality isn't just high level of quality with 1 or 2 coaches on certain days, that it's consistent across every coach every day. That's number one. Number two is the quality of the off the floor services, right? So whether it's the sign up or the hold or the if they need to cancel or they need to buy something from the pro shop or they go to the toilet or any of that fitness-based stuff. What's the quality and the consistency of that quality of that stuff? So that comes down to systems, right? And then getting to this question is the aesthetic of the gym, right? You, honestly, for most of your members, not all of them, but for the majority of your members, giving the box a nice coat of paint and doing up the bathrooms will bring them more overt value, more obvious value than buying 10 Airdynes that's going to cost you a ton of money. Yeah. So That brings me to this question, finally. That brings me to the question, cheap ways to improve the aesthetic of a gym. Okay, number one is a coat of paint. It is incredible what a coat of paint will do for a gym. So at the basic level, a coat of paint. Just start with white as a base and then work from there, right? Be clever about the colors that you paint your gym as well, right? If it's a small space, don't go painting it black. That black makes it look smaller again. It makes it look dungeon. It makes it look very rape dungeony and scary, right? If you want your place to be inviting, use bright colors, all right? Try not to use strong colors over the top. If one of your brand colors, one of your the colors of your gym is orange, don't paint a whole fucking wall orange, right? That's a very big color. That creates an unwanted emotion in the gym. Also, if you're taking photos, it creates a color cast over the rest of the gym, right? Use it sparingly, be smart about it. Try and create space, try and create lightness. But also don't just go white walls, orange wall ball line, and that's it. Right? That's been done. It's not clever. Remember, your cost of the paint comes down to the square meterage it has to cover. Right? What you do with that paint is up to you. So it doesn't cost you any more to get a bit creative with it, right? Have a look through our Facebook page for all the affiliate porn. There's some amazing paint jobs on there, right? Paint and light are the two big things that get you into affiliate porn for us, all right, or gym porn. Have a look on behance.net and have a look at gyms and how some of those have been painted. It's amazing. And again, the cost for painting it well and doing something creative is exactly the same as the cost for just throwing up a white wall with an orange line on it. So number one is a coat of paint. Also, by the way, guys, repaint your gym every year. Don't wait till it looks like shit to repaint it. That's lunacy, all right? That's like saying, I'll wait till I have skin cancer before I put sunscreen on, all right? You know that the gym is going to need a repaint every year. So just repaint it every year. Put it in the calendar. It's a weekend gig. Get a bunch of members in, put on a barbecue, put on some beers, have some fun. You know you're going to need to do it, so just do it, okay? So that's number one. Number two, is look at the areas of the gym that the members are spending their non-fitness time. So the big ones are going to be the bathrooms, right? Again, a coat of paint in the bathrooms. Maybe they're an old cream color that's kind of turned to a browny, orangey color, all right? That's just how you got the place. You didn't have the time or the money to paint it when you got in there. Just give it a coat of white. Get some fake plants, right? Get some of these. I don't know if you can see them, but get some fake plants in there. Definitely put in things like a little accessories basket. So hair ties, deodorant, tampons, what else? All of that kind of stuff, right? Stuff that people are just going to need that are nice, but doesn't cost you a whole bunch of money, and it's not a big job to upkeep, right? Doing little things. This is going to sound funny. One of the first things I do when I'm redoing bathrooms for people is put a heavy toilet seat in, right? A heavy toilet seat that does it closes itself. Sounds so silly, but replacing the whole toilet, the toilet might be old and shitty, and replacing the toilet's just not practical, right? And it's kind of not necessary. But that's not the thing that people have contact with. They have contact with the toilet seat. A heavy toilet seat makes it feel like a nice toilet, right? And they're not that expensive. Again, silly things, but these do make a difference. Your reception area, all right? How do people feel when they walk into the reception area, right? So make it light, and light again comes to paint or decorating in some way, right? Use light colors, whether it's whites, whether it's using woods, light colored woods, plywood like this, really kind of lightens up the place, and then literal light, right? Adding in, go to IKEA and they've got so many lights that you can add in that are so cheap, and a lot of them don't require an electrician, right? A lot of them are just like click-on lights that you can plug in. You can do a lot with lights, okay? Especially when you buy a couple of them and you hang them like a bit of a chandelier at different levels. You can go so crazy with this. But long story short, I've got one more tip I nearly forgot. And then with the gym area, declutter it, right? This is the problem, is as an older gym, as a gym that's been around 4 or 5 years, whatever, you just collect things, right? Over time, you get these, that specialty bar is amazing, and Rogue releases this cool thing that you definitely need, and then this bit of equipment comes out just for the open, so you get a bunch of them, and then you never use them. We get shit. We get clutter, right? Clear that clutter. If a bit of equipment isn't being used every 2 weeks, then get rid of it, right? Especially if you're a small gym. If you're a big gym and you've got all the space in the world, do what you want. But if you're a small gym, you need to manage that clutter, right? So that's step one. Get rid of the shit. Step two is do everything you can to refurb the gear every 6 months, right? So in the same way that I'm going to paint my box every year, every 6 months I'm going to go through and I'm going to refurb all the equipment. So this means a deep clean on all of the barbells, not just a clean, but a deep clean and oil. Get someone who knows what they're doing to do this. If you pull apart a barbell, you have a good chance of fucking it if you don't know what you're doing. But Other things, get your kettlebells. If you use competition kettlebells that come in the different colors, tape up the handles and respray them. They look brand new, right? Yeah, they got some texture to them, but they look nice. They look new, and it costs you, what's a spray can? $7, something like that. Beautiful. Do that every 6 months. Your boxes, your plier boxes, if they're wooden plier boxes, get a belt sander and just give it a once over. It doesn't take a lot, but all of that grime that's built up on your plier boxes, that's all sweat and blood and tears and skin bits from people's shins, all right? Just give it a quick once over. Give the corners a bit of a once over. Get rid of those sharp edges, those kind of splintery edges, and your boxes look brand new. And then go through and do this with every piece of equipment in your gym that you can refurb without it looking like a DIY job, right? If you've got a black rig, get some matte kind of powder coaty type spray paint, and anywhere that's been chipped off, just give it a once over, right? So that's what I would do is, number one, look at the aesthetic of the gym and say, how do I make this brighter and lighter? Paint is the number one. You can do a lot with paint. It's the most cost-effective way to improve your gym in a big way. Number two, look at the non-fitness areas of your gym, like the bathrooms, the members area, the reception area, and make them brighter and lighter and just more inviting. Doesn't cost a lot. IKEA is your friend. And number three, refurb your gym every 6 months. Put the effort in to make it look good. Awesome question. How are we doing on time? All right. Next question. People start to join your gym. They like the way you manage the lessons. But now you have other coaches and people miss you and start thinking about leaving. What do you do? So this is the classic box owner's dilemma of you open the gym yourself, you teach every class yourself to keep costs down, and because you need to, because there's not that many members, and then the members grow, and it becomes a cult of personality, right? Instead of being CrossFit ABC, it turns into CrossFit Thai, right? And no one's there for the community and for what we stand for. They're all there for me, right? This is a big issue, right? This is a very, very big issue. It'll be an issue short term. It'll be an even bigger issue long term. Now, I did a post on this. I definitely recommend checking out because the post, I put it up a couple of days ago on Facebook, I think on Tuesday. It'll explain it way better than I ever could. But the long and short of it here, guys, is you cannot build your box, your community, and your culture around any one person, all right? You have to build it around the culture itself, right? What you stand for, what you will not stand for, and then the practical expressions of that every single day. Now, this is something you already do, right? Whether you know it or not, you already have a culture. You already understand what you stand for, what you won't stand for, and then how you do that in real time, in the real world, every single day. The only way you can grow and expand with your coaches and not have this problem of the cult of personality is if you define that culture, right? Sit down. Don't just do it by yourself, right? A leader includes their team in this process. Sit down with your team, with your coaches, with your staff, and say, okay, what do we stand for, right? What are we about? And it'll all be feel-good things like, fitness community, safety, results, that kind of stuff. And that's cool. And we'll get to the practical versions of those in a sec. But this needs to be, you're directing this as the owner. You know where you want this to go, but you're involving everybody else. And they might see some angles that you didn't even see, right? You're not the smartest person in the gym. Don't pretend you are. So number one is we sit down and we go, okay, what do we stand for, right? And you'll get all of these kind of feel-good but kind of useless words. Then the important part is we say, okay, we go through each one of those, or even pick just the top 5, and we say, how do we express these practically every single day, right? So if one of them's professionalism, then okay, how do we express our professionalism? Well, we start on time, we end on time. We're always wearing our uniform, we're well groomed. We don't curse any more than necessary or at all in class, depending on how, the culture of your gym. We don't talk about religion or politics in the classes. We respect every member and the journey that they're on, and we adjust our coaching style to meet that journey, right? So we go through, okay, safety. Okay, how do we express safety every day? Well, we have standards, and we have our weekly coaches brief that talks about members and any injuries that they have. You already do all of this stuff, but you have to quantify it. If you don't quantify it, you can't pass it on, right? You can't just bump heads with your coach and kind of, transfer the information that way, right? You have to sit down and define it in depth with your team. Once we've done that, we do the same thing with what won't we stand for, right? What are the behaviors and the actions in the gym and the cultural elements in the gym that we will not stand for, right? Whether it's bullying, gossip, discrimination, whatever, right? So again, you come up with a list of feel good words, or in this case, feel bad words, and then you quantify them. Okay, what does that look like? What could that look like? All right. So it might be something as, disrespect. So this could be a member turning up late for class, right? That disrespects the other member's time, depending on, I'm talking 20 minutes late for a class, right? Okay, so how do we handle that every day? Maybe it's, click and gossip and just toxic groups forming. Okay, how in practically in everyday life, not only how do we deal with that, but how do we preempt that, right? How do we get ahead of that before it becomes a problem, right? How do we manage the community so that the cliques aren't forming as in such a toxic way? So we have, what do we stand for and what don't we stand for, and then the practical expressions of that, right? Now what we have is an action list of our culture, right? We have a practical way. We don't just say, oh, our culture is great, our community is great, I reckon, because magic, right? We have a real list of things to do. Now you systematize those things. This can be checklists. This can be weekly coaches brief. This can be any way, but you go through each one of those practical expressions and you ask yourself, how do we make sure this happens? How do we make sure that this isn't just something we talked about during a coaches meeting one time? How do we make sure that every class we hold ourselves to these standards, right? I'm also a big fan of publishing these standards to your, publicly to your members, so that they know that you have to hold up to those standards as well, and then they hold you accountable for maintaining that culture. So that's the big problem, is if you build the culture around yourself and then you just let anybody else jump in and have a go, obviously your members are going to enjoy you more. They've known you more. And the new coaches aren't maintaining that culture. Now, that culture does come down to, coaching ability, right? Your technical coaching ability. So you have to make sure you don't just hire somebody and go, jump in, good luck. You've got your level 1 and a pretty good back squat. Off you go, champ. This is why we're so big on coach development programs. You've got to put the effort in to develop these people technically as well as culturally. So, you've got to make sure that that's up to scratch as well. But yeah, really good question. I definitely recommend reading the article that or the post that I put up a couple of days ago. That goes into a bit more depth about the conceptual side of culture and community and how we execute on it. So today I wanted to talk about the actual meeting and how that would go down with the good behaviors, bad behaviors, practical expression systems. Hope that helps. Really, really good question. All right. Real quick, guys, upcoming seminars. We've got the Melbourne seminar coming up on 11th and 12th of May. This is the only seminar for Australia until mid next year, so don't miss out on that. Then we've got the New Zealand seminar coming up in Wellington on the 25th and the 26th of May. Again, only seminar in Melbourne until 2020, so jump in on that. There's still spots available on both of those. And later in the year, we're going to be going to the UK, Amsterdam, Cape Town, and Mexico, so keep an eye out for those dates. They'll be coming out very, very soon. And then lastly, guys, this week we launched the Grow 100 program, which is our online semi-coached 6-month course. It is everything we have to give. It is incredible. I think there's 60-something videos, 50-something worksheets, a private group to keep you accountable, as well as monthly live workshops with myself and our team. Very, very good stuff. Very, very affordable. We worked hard to make it affordable. So check out the link below for that. It's limited to 25 people per course, and we're not far off that now. So if you're keen, jump on. You can also do a free trial. If you click that link, do a free trial, try out 6 lessons, see if you like it, and go from there. All right, let's jump into the next question. Next question is, just starting a new gym. Can you talk about size, square footage, and how to best make it work? Awesome question. I love this because there's this kind of trend lately of super gyms and of pissing contests, right? You go in and you go, okay, I want to open a new gym, and you're insecure. And by the way, you should be insecure, right? You're probably, if you've never opened a gym before, you're doing a new thing for the first time. You should be insecure. You've got to manage those insecurities. Otherwise they'll ruin you. So you're a little bit insecure, and maybe you're even kind of a newer coach, and so you jump in and you go, okay, there's these other gyms and other boxes and other Globo gyms and whatever around me, and I need to compete with them. So instead of concentrating on substance, on our quality of service and quality of coaching and how we make people feel and creating a special place, let's just go big, right? Let's open a super gym. We'll have more airdynes than the guy down the road, so we'll win. It's obviously a fucking dumb idea, right? People do it every day. Every day they think that the size of their gym is going to make them successful. It's not. All it does is open you, right? Again, if you've never owned a gym before, right, then you are bad at owning a gym inherently. That's okay, right? If you've never juggled before, you're bad at juggling. That's how skills work, all right? Have the humility to understand that you are a beginner at owning a business, all right? So understanding that you're a beginner at owning a business, which is fine, and then going, okay, the right reaction to that is to open a bigger, more complicated business with a bigger liability, putting my ass on the line unnecessarily, right? You've got this huge gym. Well, how are you going to pay for that gym? How long is your lease on that gym? How are you going to pay for the equipment to fill that gym? That's all liabilities on a skill that you don't have yet. You're not good at yet. And again, that's okay. But going crazy like that, it's insane to me. And also, it doesn't matter, right? Members aren't going to join your gym because it's the biggest. No one gives a fuck if it's the biggest. You care, and the box down the road cares, but guess what? Neither you nor the owner of the box down the road are paying your membership fees, all right? So build a box for the members, right? That's the first thing that stresses me out. So square footage doesn't matter. I'm a big fan of 300 square meters. I don't know what that is in square feet. I think it's like 900 to 1,000. I don't know. I'm all over the shop. But 300 square meters, it's nice. It's big enough for a 10-person, 12-person class, which again is my preference. I like 10 people to 2 coaches. That's my personal preference. And a members area and bathrooms and showers and a reception area without being overly big. It's easy to clean because it's not too big. It's easy to manage. I'm more concerned about car park spaces, to be honest, than I am at the size of the gym. I'm more concerned about the location of the gym than I am about the size of the gym. Those things matter more to me. And also, you don't need a big gym to have a lot of members, right? I know a gym in, where is it? I think it's in LA. It's 140 square meters and they have 600 members. 140 square meters, 600 members. Now, how can they do that? Well, because they do the smart thing. They open at whatever, let's say 5 a.m., they close at 9 p.m., and they have classes pretty much on the hour every hour because it's 2019 and the 9 to 5 is dead. All right. There are a lot of people that can come to your 1 p.m. class or your 9 p.m. class or your 11 a.m. class, all those classes that we want to call off peak because we're too lazy to work out a creative way to fill them. There are people that can go to those classes if you do the work. So you can have 600 plus whatever, pick a number, members in a small gym. So don't think that you need a big gym just to have a lot of members. That's very short-sighted thinking, right? That shows me a very immature business owner attitude. And how do you make it best work was the second half of the question. Spend as little money on equipment as you can, right? Rely on your ability to program or outsource your programming to someone who does it better than you and your ability to coach. Don't rely on equipment, all right? I say this all the time to new boxers, dumbbells or kettlebells. Pick one or the other, right? Don't waste money on both, right? Get creative, right? If you can't make people fit with 1 or 2 pieces of equipment, then you're probably not a good enough coach to open your gym anyway, right? So you don't need 4 million bits of equipment, right? Same goes with rings and rope climbs and all this kind of shit, right? Most of your members for the first 6 months are going to be new members anyway. Yeah, you'll get a few from other boxes, right? But that's not your core market. Your core market is probably going to be new members who've never done CrossFit before, right? So look, if I have to choose a space that the roof is only just high enough for a 6'5" person to do a press, right? So it's high enough that anyone can do a barbell movement, but we can't do muscle ups, we can't do rope climbs. We can only just do wall balls. Cool, awesome. Fun fact: you can get fit without doing muscle ups. Who knew, right? Now, if that location is a perfect location, right? It's a street side location with a lot of foot traffic and the rent is reasonable and the terms are reasonable. I don't give a fuck about muscle ups and rope climbs, right? You've got to be smart about this, guys, okay? So same goes for equipment. Kettlebells or dumbbells, all right? You don't need 20s, all right? Just go plates, right? Just go 25s or even actually go the other way around. Sorry, I fucked that up. You don't need 25s, right? When you first start. Just get your 5s, your 10s, your 15s. You don't even need 15s, to be honest. Your 5, your 10s, maybe your 15s, and your 20s, and a bunch of change plates. That's it. The 25s are super expensive, and no one's going to need them for the first couple of weeks, right? For the first couple of months even, right? Because you got new members. Ergs, right? So air dynes and rowers and ski ergs, right? They're the most expensive single pieces of equipment in your gym. If you're opening in a place like here on the Gold Coast, we can go running outside all year, right? Middle of winter, it doesn't get that cold. You can wear a t-shirt in the middle of winter if you want. So you don't need to open with that gear, right? If you're opening in Canada, but you're opening in the summer, right? You don't need that gear. Go running outside, get creative, right? Find another way to express the same, elicit the same stimulus as you do with whatever it is, rowing, running, whatever, in another way that's cheaper or free. You don't need all the gear in the world, guys, okay? What you need is financial stability. What you need is money in the bank in case shit goes wrong, in case you can't pay the first month's rent, in case the council comes in and says, oh, you forgot about this fee that you've got to pay for zoning and hits you with 10 grand, in case, a fucking pipe bursts and that costs you 5 grand. These things happen in business, right? One of the biggest mistakes I see is people open and they've got a budget of whatever, say 100,000, and they spend 100,000 up to the day they open, right? They spend every fucking cent. They think that's their budget. If you have 100,000, your budget is 70,000, maybe, right? That I think it's what's the movie? Top Gun. In Top Gun, random 80s reference here, but in Top Gun, they have, when they're doing the maneuvers, the fighters are doing the maneuvers. They have what they call, I think it's a hard deck, right? Which is they pretend that the ground is, say, 10,000 feet. Right, so if you hit 10,000 feet, then within the simulation, you hit the ground and you're dead, right? You should have a financial hard deck, all right? So let's say it's $10,000, right? If your bank account is $10,000, you have 0 workable dollars, right? Now, this sounds obvious, but very few people do this, all right? And it's way more important as a new box owner because you don't have that cash flow coming in yet to be smart about this stuff. So size, bigger is not better. Better is better. Be better, right? Better location, better service, better systems, better quality of coaching, better everything. But bigger is not better. Bigger is usually fucking dumb. And then how do you make it work? Don't go crazy on the gear, right? Get what you need. Be creative as a coach. Be creative as a programmer. Understand that you're in this for the long run, all right? This is a marathon, not a sprint. Be smart about how you spend your money and have a hard deck of cash. Awesome question. I love that question. Very, very cool stuff. Okay, last question. This one's quite intimate to me. Thoughts on balancing personal life and managing the business. So most of the other questions we've talked about today and most of the other questions that I cover, I consider myself an expert, whatever that means, in those areas, right? I have a lot of experience and I've worked them out. I can do them. The reason I wanted to answer this question today is because I'm not an expert at this, right? I struggle with this a lot. I'm a work in progress all the time with this, right? I try and get better at balancing my personal life, and having a daughter a couple of years ago really helped with that because it forced me. I had a real reason to balance it. So here's some of the lessons that I've learned that have made me better at this. Again, I'm not great. Number one is build your personal life first, and then build your business life around that. All right, you work out what your perfect personal life is. And then you build the business that gives you that life, right? That accommodates that life, right? Something has to sacrifice. Either you sacrifice your personal life for the business, or your business life for your personal life, right? No one wants to be on their deathbed and saying, I got divorced twice, my kids don't talk to me anymore, I don't have any real friends, but my profit margins were fucking impressive. No one wants to be that person, right? Yeah, you're going to struggle to find people who love business more than I do. I fucking love it. But it's not everything, right? This thing that we do, we're very lucky that we get to do what we love, but it's still just a means to an end. And the end is life, is friends, is family, is kids, is parents. That's what it's about, guys. And I know this sounds obvious, but a lot of us really struggle with this, and I'm one of them. So sort out your life. Right? Plan your life, right? If you want to pick your kids up from school, put that in the calendar. If you want to go on a holiday, a long weekend once a month, put that in the calendar. If you want to go on a trip overseas twice a year, put that in the calendar. Plan your life out the way you want it, and then build the business around that. And if there's areas of friction where the business, the clashing heads, the business and your personal life, the sacrifice comes from the business, not from the personal life, right? Get creative. Find a better way to execute on what it is that you want to do. If you can't find a creative way, eliminate it completely from the business. It might mean that you don't get to do all those specialty programs. It might mean that you don't get to go to every fucking competition that you want to go to on the weekends, right? You're going to have to get creative with this. But guys, I tell you now, I see too many box owners or business owners in general getting divorced and just hating life and falling out of love with fitness and not spending time with their kids and missing important things. It's just not worth it, guys, okay? Also, it's not necessary. Now, I would argue if you wanted to get into the finance game, if you wanted to work on Wall Street and you wanted to have a good life-work balance, especially in the first few years, you're out of your mind. Pick one or the other, right? That they don't work together. But luckily, what we have is a lifestyle-based business. They can work together, right? You've just got to get creative. You've got to make some hard decisions. Those hard decisions are either going to come from the business or from your personal life. And I know what I'd rather sacrifice. So that's my first bit of advice, guys. Last bit of advice, something that I work very hard on, is get rid of these things, all right? They're a tool. Use them as a tool. Turn them off. It's great today that you can have it where you don't get any interruptions between a certain time. I've got mine between, I think it's 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. Nothing can come through this, right? If something's burning down, let it fucking burn to the ground. That's what insurance is for. I don't get interrupted at night because nighttime is for me and for my family. If I'm playing with my daughter, this gets put into another room. So if my phone is in my pocket and she wants to play, I'll take my phone out, I'll throw it on my bed in another room, and then I'll go play with her, all right? Because there's nothing worse than, imagine being a kid. We didn't have to go through this as adults. Our parents didn't have these things. But imagine being a kid and you want to play with the person that you look up to the most, and they're going, oh, that's so cute, sweetie. Yeah, it's funny. Right? Imagine how fucking heart-crushing that is, right? So it's a big one for me, is fuck these things. Delete Facebook, delete Instagram. If it's taking over your life, they can be really negative. They can be helpful, but they can be negative as well. Anyway, I just want to answer that because it's something that I'm struggling with personally. And instead of pretending that I'm an expert, I'd rather just let you guys know that you're not alone if you're struggling with work-life balance, and I'm there too. And these are a few things that have worked really well for me over the last few years. Anyway, I think that's all. Yes, that's 5 questions. So there you go, guys. I hope it helps. I hope the audio is okay. It's a little bit more touchy than normal audio, so I hope you guys have a good listening experience. Let me know, do you like it as a podcast setup? Is it better for you to be able to listen to it in the car? Let me know in the comments below. If you've got any other questions, as always, drop them below if you want it public, or if you want it answered anonymously, shoot me a message and ask for it to be anonymous. Besides that, guys, have an amazing, amazing weekend. You deserve it. Start practicing the personal life balance this weekend. Turn your phones off, look your kids in the eye, spend some time with them. And I'll see you next week. I love you guys. Peace. Bye.